Hello and welcome everybody to week 7 of our Wiisinin cooking classes. So this week we're going to be doing stuffed acorn squash, and we're going to be stuffing it with wild rice, celery, onions, mushrooms, and zucchini. So we decided to make this dish vegan, but feel free to add whatever protein you would like. And before you start preparing your veggies, make sure your oven is preheated to 400 degrees and that you are cooking your wild rice, because wild rice does take a while to cook and soak. So the first step is to cut your acorn squash in half and then just lightly brush it with some olive oil. At this point, make sure that you've already washed and prepared all your veggies that you're going to be using for this dish. And after you're done, just put the acorn squash on a baking tray and put it into the oven. So now we're going to start cutting up our veggies. I started with the celery. We can start with whatever you would like. Next, we cut up the onions. This is just a little trick that I saw online from Gordon Ramsay. Feel free to use it if you'd like, but it's an easy way to dice your onions really quickly. I personally like a rustic look, so I make them big, but you can make it smaller if you'd like. Next, we're gonna cut up the mushrooms, and this is my favorite part because I love mushrooms so much. Don't mind me, I'm not an expert. I just love cooking and eating, so our next step is going to be to dice our garlic, and just dice it up as fine as you would like. Again, I like things to be in big chunks, but it's totally up to you if you want to dice things smaller. And we're going to be cooking everything all together anyways. Now we're going to be cutting our zucchini in quarters, and I just did this way because I think it's the fastest and easiest way. So now that you have everything ready, it's time to start cooking. And at this point, you want to make sure that your rice is almost fully cooked so that you are ready to add it into your medley. So we're going to start with a pan that's already hot on medium heat and add some olive oil. We're just going to kind of saute these veggies a little bit. So the first step is to add the onions and the celery together and just let them saute for a little bit. A quick note for everybody, the pan that I used was actually quite small, so we ended up switching over to a bigger pan later. So if you have a pan that's bigger than this one, try your best to use one that you think will fit all of the veggies and the rice that you're going to be cooking together. Now we're going to be adding the rest of our ingredients. So the garlic goes in first. It should have gone in before the onions and the celery, but sometimes I like to add it in after because I really like garlic and I like that fresh taste. Next, we're going to be putting our zucchini in, and we're going to follow this by adding our mushrooms. Yummy, yummy mushrooms. Now we're just going to continue to saute all of our veggies together. Like I mentioned before, try your best to grab a bigger pan than this so that you can cook all your veggies together. Then add your cranberries and your spices. So here we have ground sage. You can use ground sage or just dried sage, it's up to you. And here we have our oregano, just sprinkle that all in. Oops, I dropped some on the side. Next, we added our pine nuts. So we decided to use pine nuts because we thought it would go well, but you can use walnuts or any kind of nuts that you would like, that you think would go well with this dish. It's completely up to you. And if you're brushing things off to the side, just be careful because it's probably really hot. Stir the veggies around a little bit and just let them cook. They're gonna get really nice, and it's going to be very, very fragrant pretty soon, so that's really exciting. And we're going to be adding our wild rice pretty soon here, so just check on the rice. It should only take around 30 minutes to cook, and at this point your squash should be ready as well. So bring it out of the oven. Feel free to poke it with a spoon or something to see if it's ready, and then add your wild rice to your medley and some vegetable broth. We added 1/4 cup. And then just stir again and just cook it for a little bit. Add some salt and pepper as well, And then we're going to be stuffing our acorn squash with this beautiful medley. And feel free to add goat cheese as well if you'd like. We were going to add it afterwards, but we decided to just keep it as a vegan dish. But feel free to add any kind of cheese or anything that you think might complement this dish. Or also meat. You can add ground chicken, ground beef, whatever you like. Now we're going to be stuffing the acorn squash, so just fill it to the brim. It should be very proportionate, and this dish is good for 4 people. So if you want to make a salad by it, or you can eat it with some nice bread, maybe baguette or whatever kind of bread that you like. After you finish stuffing your acorn, you're going to put it back into the oven for about 10 more minutes at the same temperature that it was already cooking at, and the food's almost ready. Here we go. Garnish your food. We added some dried parsley and some chilies, but you can add whatever you like as a garnish. You can sprinkle a little bit of cheese if you'd like, some chili flakes if you like spicy food, and voila, here we go, our stuffed acorn squash. Thank you everybody for joining us this week. Stay tuned for more amazing videos from Wiisinin.